My grandmother was calling from her assisted living home. Whenever she wanted to talk about something really important, she would always say, "Have you got a minute?" She went on to say that my aunt was seeing someone. My aunt just had a double hip replacement. She needed help to do everything, let alone date. She said he's been in love with her since kindergarten, and he's just been waiting for my uncle to get out of the picture. My uncle had committed suicide only about 3 months prior to this call. My grandmother had Alzheimer's for 7 years or so. We would leave a restaurant and she would be like, "Have we eaten yet?" The fact that at this point in her disease, she remembered that my uncle was no longer living was pretty remarkable. He had a name, and his name was Nick Stephanopoulos. He was a wealthy businessman. He was going to take my aunt to Rome, and he was going to buy her all these beautiful gifts. In the beginning, we were like, "I think you've been watching too much television." My grandmother got really upset. It was almost more trouble to deny her this thing. And we were by no means making fun of her, but we kind of talked about him like he was a family member. We just started playing along. My aunt went to visit her in the assisted living home. She was lying in her bed and had this really grave look on her face. And she said Nick was on his way to New Orleans on the train, and he bumped into Mr. McDaniel, the train conductor. And Mr. McDaniel thinks that you should know that Nick is involved in some unscrupulous business deals. My aunt said, "Oh my gosh, I will bring that up with him." Nick actually lived for about 2.5 years. And my grandmother, her health declined. And then one day, my grandmother said, "I'm sorry to hear about Nick. I heard he only has 3 months to live." She knew that she was dying, and she had to kill him off before she left the world. Having Nick was sort of this perfect way to preserve her imagination and her personality.